Hello, everyone. How are you? Good to see you again. And we're back. And as usual, thank you so much for being here today. If you can, let us know where are you tuning in. It will be great to figure out. So I'm here in Mexico City, sunny Mexico City, as you can see, and I'm super excited to be here today with you guys. I have a very special guest, quite kind of with a different kind of like point of view and perspective. Uh, so my name is Josue Ibanez. You probably been in these sessions today, and today I'm going to introduce you to some very special guests, which is called Braw Haus. And Braw Haus is a digital agency and creative studio founded in 2018, if I'm correct, by Justine Vilgrain and Patricia Gloum. And what is special about this agency is that they're representing a diverse community of digital artists across different disciplines such as generative art, 3D fashion, creative direction, AI, architectural environments, and immersive. And Braw has empowered creators while representing their unique vision. And I'm very interested about this session because beyond the studio that has been collaborating with big brands like Nike, Adidas, Kenzo, and showcase in iconic locations, including the Sphere and Times Square and La Défense in Paris. So they've been creating multiple digital art exhibitions, and I'm always very interested because the people that are tuning in today probably they have so many questions about how do I become, how do I showcase my work, how can I be presenting my work in Times Square or the Sphere or some these kind of things. And sometimes like us as creators, we don't have this either contacts or also kind of like opportunities because we don't know the industry quite well perhaps, but we're really good into creating this type of like content. So what I would like to present to you are those two partners. So welcome, Justine, and I'm just going to introduce you to my friends Justine and Patricia. Hello, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Josue?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You good? Thank you so much for
Good.
having us.
Yes, yes, super excited because like this session is quite different from the, usually we have creators, but in a way I feel like you guys are also creators, because you create things with artists, and then you have this agency where you represent artists, and there's a lot of people that I'm pretty sure here in this call today that will like to know like how is to be represented by the agency. What does it mean? Like what the hell is happening with that? And now with this kind of like a fast moving industry, a lot of things are evolving and a lot of type of art are being created, and I've been meeting Patricia and Justine, Justine briefly, but Patricia, we hang out for a while in Mexico, and we get to learn, a bit more in depth. So, but I would like it for you guys to share today with the audience your story. Like, how do you guys know what ended up doing this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. First of all, hi everyone. Yeah, we thought maybe we'll tell a bit of the story of how this all started, like you mentioned. And it all started in a very tiny island in Greece, where this is the first time Patricia and I met. Forward 4 years after that, we bump into each other in the subway of New York, where the love story of Braw Haus kind of began. Patricia was a freelance director. I was a student, and it's Patricia that came up to me with the idea of creating a community of artists, of freelancers, to be able to kind of do bigger projects together and as well not feel alone. So like always feeling part of a hub and of a house. That's why as well like the name of Braw Haus. Yeah, so this is how it kind of all started with deeply the idea of bringing digital art across the world in multiple locations, really trying to have digital art everywhere. and kind of changing as well the advertising, the tech, the arts, so they're all under the same kind of baskets for like by artists for artists.
Yeah, because that actually was our device, like by artists for artists. Because yeah, Justine said we're our backgrounds are in the creative field, and at that time, you could see on the screens everywhere that it was only advertising showing up, and there were so many beautiful digital art pieces that weren't even named this way. They were named just as graphic design, animation, and so there was not really a full name that is now digital art, that could be put underneath. So for us, it became a little bit clear that there was an underrepresentation that was happening, and in the mix of that, the idea that that you could, it was very well seen to have a 9 to 5, but like if you were kind of doing your own type of life, and hours and schedule, it was maybe not seen as so professional. Well, actually, all these people are very professional, and these artists. So it came into like putting this into highlight, and then showcase all these talents, and start actually collaborating with them. At that time when Justine and I met, we were organizing some underground parties, and I mean we were partnering actually with people that were organizing parties for us to project those pieces, but as well with some shops. So we were pushing the idea of commercial, as to like don't just have a screen or something. Let's put a commercial connected with this artist that is in the vibe of your brand, in order to showcase the brand in a very, in an original, out of the box thinking, which is as well how we think of the art. I think you're in mute, Josue.
Yes, sorry. I was going to say, like, it looks like you've been in quite a ride during these years, and like being to be able to, I think to be able to curate artists, you have to be kind of an artist yourself as well, in a sense, right? To start working in. And one of my, one of the questions that I probably will have for you, like, how do you guys identify, and prepare these artists to thrive in this such fast evolving and constantly shifting industry? Like, how do you make this work?
How do we make it work? Basically is studying the work of the artist, and then asking them a little bit the background questions, a little bit like what is how have they been working with the industry before? Do they know what is like a client call? Have they been doing their own rate sheets and budget, like understanding what are the prices out there, how much are they worth, but as well like understanding a little bit. So that, I mean, that's like on the second part actually, but the first part, in order for us to like to find those artists, is mainly to understand their background and how did they gone into where they are today, and then understand if they want to fully be artists, so meaning not at all being connected with the commercial world, or if they want to be artists, but as well they want to like have their art be connected with brands. Yeah, I don't know if I fully actually answered your question.
Yeah, and for example, like let's say like I'm an artist, and what advice would you give to me as as someone who would like to showcase my work out there, and to be like be seen, or to be able to also like presented in places? Like, what advice would you give to this for
I'd say to identify where do you want to be displayed, and understand which places are, for example, like Times Square or the New Shibuya, or is it maybe like the corner store in your streets, or maybe something related to your own city where you are physically. And then from there, there's a little bit of marketing to do, because it's something that as artists, I think successful artists are the ones that understand that they have to do as well, do their own promotion. and then not being scared of sending an email, a cold email, being like, hey, this is my art, and I see this, and I see a connection here, and this could be very can my art would you be interested in doing my art for this month here. So to just be a bit more like less there's a sound. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because there's another sound that's like maybe.
No, it's fine. We hear you right.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, to be a bit cold in that sense, not be very emotional about it, and then just do that, and as well associate, not being scared of the people that you're a fan of, the other artists that have been out there that have a bit of connection with online, to ask them, hey, how did you got that? Maybe do you like my art? Do you think it would be a good fit? Can you introduce me to this person? Yeah.
I think
You,
Yeah, I think like in today's world, and the difference like in what we had like 20 years ago and how an artist 20 years ago was being marketed. So like if we look at traditional art and without kind of social media, so let's remove social media with traditional art, curators and institution needed to really go and deep in research to go and find artists that then will be learning about their history, and the artists themselves were going in location or living in some cities because this is where a lot of artist community were there. And then today with social media, it's much more accessible for the artists, like Patricia mentioned, to be seen. And I think what's interesting and what we kind of see is that you constantly should produce, and like when let's say you start, like keep on producing, keep on seeing what you enjoy doing, to then really have your own kind of aesthetic, because we see now today like a lot of similarity in aesthetic. And I think that's a big value for an artist will be to really different himself. When we see his artwork, we're like, okay, this is this guy. I know this is this guy because of this technique, this color, this shape. It makes me think of this. And I think, and this is what, as a curator, this is what we are kind of interested in looking at. And yeah, I think keep producing, but don't produce to produce. It's like, don't overproduce just because you need to post on social media or do something. It's really like produce carefully in aesthetic and right way.
Probably, I will add something that produce with purpose, because that's a difference about producing and producing with purpose. Like those combination of things. I think that's what it makes a more powerful style and message for an artist, right? And some interesting thing that you mentioned is like the nowadays with the tools that we share in common, the similarity are you can see them everywhere. Are very quite common to encounter this type of stuff. And regarding to this, like how are you guys redefining the traditional creative agency model, to meet the new dynamics of digital art and global collaboration? What would be your position in this?
So we started Braw Haus with a desire to break away from the rigid client service model. And so instead, we operate as a creative ecosystem. We operate in a way where we get closer to the artist in a friendly way, I want to say, because it's something that there can be a lot of hierarchy and in those ancient business models. And I think something more linear is a bit more humanistic. So yeah, the idea is to work closely with those artists and then technologies and brands, and then mix a little bit together so that there's a little bit of a dialogue between that. And the idea of as well, why not to partner a digital artist with a set designer that they have never actually worked together, and then put something out there that is a new type of creation. So there's a lot of experimental. I would like to say. And then having a bit of flexible workflows, because at the end of the day, that reflects the global nature of digital art. Digital art has a lot of different mediums and techniques, so we're not really scared of okay, let's try this type of different workflow and then propose that in front of this brief. Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest part while working with brands is to keep their artist essence, right? And
Yeah.
to make, to also fulfill, like the brand values and the brand, things, and also keeping the brand artist, soul, if you want to call it that way, and to actually meet them. And I think your work, from my outside perspective, is to try to make this bridge, as you mentioned, right? To try to make them work together and try to
Yeah.
to see how this works. And have you been having, this experience where it doesn't work?
Mm,
I think I'm just gonna add like towards the clients. I think what's hard as well is to educate them on what we're doing. We do digital, and they think that we can just send a file, they like modify it and send it in a minute. And it's like, no, we need to render, we need to do this and that, and they're like, what? But no, we can just move this. And it's like, this is not as easy as it seems like it can be. So I think, yeah, a lot of education towards clients. In terms of if sometimes it didn't work, I don't know, Pat, which
I have to think a little bit about it. Like, it didn't work. I mean, basically, actually, I would say that they just like, we propose ideas in the brief. A lot of times when we create ideas, we ideate it, we put the safe ones and then the crazy ones, and then the crazy ones are the ones where we're like, where it's more like an experimental part. And so they just say no, and that they mainly go a lot with the safest. But already the safest, it's interesting to see that it's already a step forward into the mission that we have, which is pushing digital art to be more across mediums in the cultural, institutional world, but as well in the commercial world. So that's already is a big win for us in that sense. It's very new. Oh, this is very niche. Yeah.
And I think, yeah, from that, like in terms of our journey for the past 8 years, like we went from like adding to already existing footage, some digital, like some 3D and some digital on it, to really creating a full campaign with generative arts that is representative of a product. So like really how we push this to another level of kind of what we like to call like the new advertising, like a new way of advertising. And like Patricia mentioned, like many times, clients come to us because of our expertise in art and tech. And I'm sure if people work with clients in the room, they will all relate. The clients always want something that's never seen before. And that is like, yeah. And so because we can go very crazy with our ideas, we always ask the client, we're like, okay, but how crazy can we go in terms of ideation? And they're like, oh, go far, go far. And like Patricia said, when we present, they're like, oh, this is way too far. And we're like, so what are we like? Oh, we just wanted an Instagram filter. And they're like, well, we arrived with like tech and like the whole process of a concept, and you want an Instagram filter? What? That's innovation and never done before.
We want a FOOH.
and and how does it work? Like, let's say, well, I'm just gonna ask you like step by step. Like, let's say like, oh, I would like to be represented with you guys. If that is even possible, what should I do? And when that happens, like, what's the next step? Like, how does it work? Like, do you guys take a commission out of the work that I do or not? I assume it works like this, but just for the audience that is here that don't have any idea, how to be expanded their artwork. Let's say perhaps in this call we have incredible artists that are creating incredible work, and we don't know them, and they're there. As you mentioned, like we need to look for them. We need to understand who they are, so you guys can extend also the network.
So basically, we look for out of the box thinkers, artists that are not scared to showcase their voice, and yeah, and artists that have that are interested to actually yeah, I don't know, to I mean, yeah, I didn't, yeah, like, sorry, because I have like three thoughts at the same time. I'm gonna say one by one. but yes, as well, there's like a commission part, of course. Like, I mean, it can go in different ways. It's either like the artist brings the project, and then at Braw Haus, like, we do the project management, the contracts, negotiations, and then as well, since we are, as with Justine, we have this artist brain, so then we understand how to talk to the artist, but how to talk to the client, but as well, like, we can help contribute the collaboration and the ideation as to like what is good for both parties. And so that's
like to add on that, we decided to represent the artist in 2021. So the process is like Patricia and I, we go and find profile that we enjoy, that we're gonna curate. From there, we'll feature them on our Instagram. So this is a bit kind of a way for us to really like promote digital artists and have like them to talk about the technique. They work a bit like what you do here. So like visually. And then from there, in 2021, we were already working closely with some of the artists that we are representing today. And it was just kind of natural in the way they were asking us for advice. We were helping them with contract, with structure, with client communication. And at some point, we were like, oh, well, it makes sense that we kind of go a bit more into something that's more structural with them and represent them. And what we see today is that a lot of artists do not want to necessarily like deal with the client directly. So this is where we kind of make the bridge in between that communication.
Cool. And regarding to your actual kind of where is Pat? Pat's here. Regarding to your actual network of artists, like what kind of artists do you represent? Like who are they? Like your current network of the art that you represent now?
So funny enough, actually, on that note, 85% of them we haven't met them in real. So it's all like people we have been connected with digitally. And then in terms of what do they do, because with Braw Haus, the mission of Braw Haus is to be a reference in digital art. So right now, this is the pool of artist representation, development of the artists, and then keep building with them. But as well is to be interested in a lot of different types of techniques. So we're gonna have artists that are gonna be creative coders, other ones that are gonna be more connected with the 3D fashion or motion design, like Connie. Then we're going to have as well like 3D set design or texturizer or 3D sculpture. Finn Berenborg does a lot of that. But we're going to have as well like some generative artists like Kaoru or Guillaume Saudet, where we work with him on a lot of 3D fashion campaigns. There's a lot of variety, and we're still open to. We keep expanding slowly. We're a small team, so we're 5 internally, and so the idea is to really have different types of spectrums in digital art. Like right now, we're going to be representing a studio called Husk, and they are physical artists. That means it's a musician and a physical artist that creates with digital art, but in the physical space. So yeah, basically anything that, as Justine said, that takes our eye to both of us, that we think is relevant, that has something that is interesting for us to showcase into the world and emphasize on it.
I like the word everything that takes our eye, and you can tell from what you see here. And what have been one of your most kind of like challenging projects so far, in this ride?
I'd like to talk about our first kind of big project. Pat, would that be, I think, a very challenging, the PSG Nike project? So when we open up, let's say virtually in France, we had this project with the PSG, which is the French football team, and Nike and Jordan. And we kind of, we thought everything was aligned, and it was our first big project of making avatars, scanning. So we did like a 360 scanning, doing like 3D closing. So we had a lot of kind of issues doing the project, and that project for us like teach us everything we needed to know to then be as much as ready as possible when starting a project with a larger team, with software that needs to be sent, like files that need to be sent here and there, adjustments. So this was like, yeah, they wanted to change the logo, and we were like, okay, guys, you need to change the logo. They're like, no, this is like a 1 week work. We need to redo everything. So it was like very stressful and very intense. And it was not like we were actually scanning those players. Like we were with Mbappe scanning him and being like, okay, can you do this and that? So it was like a level of stress that was, yeah. But I think that project was challenging because it was one of the first big project we had that was fully 3D.
Nice, nice. So we're gonna jump into questions from the audience. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of questions from artists and also creative technologies that are around here, this place. Many of them. I'm pretty sure they would like to collaborate with in some of your projects. And please, if you're there, prepare your questions. We're gonna ask them to Patricia and Justine. Before we jump in, let me give you a quick review about where we are right now. What is this place? So as you know, we're in the interactive and immersive, and this channel is also promoting the HQ Pro, which is the only we call it the only immersive school for designers, creative technologies, and touch designer artists and developers. And we have over 60 full touch designer courses. And we have a private group where we can, coach people to work into the projects. We also hold some private acceleration sessions within the group, and we have over 120 custom-built touch designer tools projects, and also the only program that is being certificated. So, if you want to test it out, I'm gonna put you the link over here. So you can go ahead and test it out and do a trial for the HQ. It's quite incredible to have this community and also to be here with you guys today. So, all right, so let's jump back into some of the questions from the audience. I'm pretty sure you guys have some questions. So let me just start by seeing here, okay, so Mattia from Italy. Justine at the beginning talked about the fact that Braw Haus was created to empower artists and creators to be part of a community and healthy and supportive ecosystem. My question is, how does Braw Haus expand and how does the house welcome new housemates?
So the house is kind of the community of artists that we have curated over the past 8 years, where the house happens. So we have channels on Instagram where each artist where we share information. If we find some open calls, if we find any kind of cool opportunities, that's why we'll just be sharing it. And then the artists as well themselves are talking to each other. So if we have questions, like if someone is struggling with a software, that's when they can drop as well and they question like, hey, did anyone use that? So we used to do this on Telegram before. And as well, what we do and love doing is organizing events only with artists when we in the same location. So we kind of send an email to all the artists that are living in that city, and then we try to meet. And those are always super fun because some artists know each other through online and they don't even know the face of each other, and then they just meet physically and become friends, and as well collaborate in the futures on project because they know each other's aesthetic. But the entry point is us kind of wanting, not wanting, that's not the right word, but it's us finding artists that we all want to curate and then add them to the community, if that makes
And there's as well like the idea of so once the curation happens, and then it's either the artist goes and contact us, and then we review the portfolio and we're like, okay, this is a good fit. And if it's a good fit, what we as well do is that we ask them a couple of questions, ask for their works, and then feature them on all our channels. So like Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So then slowly, even to our brand, our clients or community, they see what is the new addition, and then it's the idea of creating a database. So then if there's a project that can be connected to that person, then we would right away like think about that person. We have their email, and we're just gonna be like, "Ching, hey, by the way, there's this thing, it connects with your work, it's good, blah blah." So it's basically really kind of like the first filter of us first passing to, and then putting on Instagram and artist feature and all that.
Cool. Amazing. So I have a question here from Vilo. What advice would you advise an artist who's a year into building their portfolio to find a manager at that point in their creative career?
It depends how what's the work like. I mean, I know as an artist it's a bit hard to sometimes to be your own value, not your own value, but be your own judge of like if is your work valuable or not to like find a manager. But it's always good to ask for advice, to ask advice around you, ask advice of people being like, hey, here's my portfolio, what do you think of it? And it depends how, it depends how far you are in the process. It's a bit hard to answer that, because maybe in 1 year you fully have done that every night, every hour, and maybe you already know a lot of programs from before that you're mixing with another technique, or maybe you're blessed and super skilled, and then actually you learn the program, and in 1 year you're like super out there, or maybe actually you're very far away behind. It's very DIY, and then that really it cannot really serve in the industry so much, and it needs more work, more time. So advice is always good. We can always give advice. We can always receive an email, and then be like, hey, this is what we think of your work. I'm very happy to have.
I think Velo, to add on what Patricia said, like she said, it's not a matter of time that you have created. It's as well where can a manager can place you.
Yeah.
So, and then like having, I think the best advice on this is like having case study, even if it's not with an actual brand, but you take a brand's name and you create an advertising for that manager to kind of see where in commercial he can place you, or where he can place you in installation, to have a vision, because obviously that's what the manager will try to do to bring you projects.
It's a great advice, that one, actually. The doing fake advertising in order to really build your portfolios, to actually go exactly where you want to be seen already, and identify that and make fake stuff like that around that.
Yeah, that's the best one. Make fake stuff before you jump it. That's how you make it. Yeah, that's how you make it. Actually, I have a question here from Somodiva. Do you get commissions based on projects or monthly from artists?
I don't think I
do you get do you get commission based on projects or
monthly from artists? I think I understand the question, but basically we get the commissions based on the projects. We don't do any monthly. There's no retainer with the artists that like they pay us, we pay you.
I understand. Yeah.
It's flat fee, project based.
Cool. I have another question here. What advice would you give to innovative, driven young developers, students, artists who are entering into the industry? Is there any advice they should ignore?
Someone that is studying right now, I will really suggest to completely step out of what is being done today. Like, go and not develop, but like go and find something that it's not, even if like it seems like impossible. It's like find something that's super niche and that you can go and explore, even if it's like mixing stuff, mixing nature, mixing technology, physical space outside. Like, I think there's too much of a digital, and we need to as well bring back the digital into the physical space. So if it's the student that is exploring the digital aspect, is like, how can your work be physical? I don't know if that is making a bit of a sense, but yeah. Did it make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. To like to to maybe try to not be as influenced as like what you have around you, but more really go further with your concept and do something that like it's just it can be so crazy, but actually and so impossible. But at the same time, those projects are the ones that people really love because they're fresh. And a lot of times when students come out of the school, they either follow what the school told us to do, like in terms of projects, so like the assignment that the professor gave them, or they're too much in their Instagram and they do exactly what all the other Instagram, like social media is doing in general. And what are the trends with this? Oh, now it's this like AI thing, so now everyone is like doing, and then it's this, so everyone is going. So it looks like everyone is like kind of like running behind who's going to be the first one that has used this. So it's a bit, like, okay, yeah, unless you're again super skilled and then you're like, wow, that can happen too. But other times it feels like, I think taking your own time and finding your own voice somehow without being too much trying to do what other people do is definitely a way where people are gonna see you, and not being afraid of being stubborn about it, and give it a lot of hours. And then an advice I would say to ignore is ignore a lot of times is a bit ignore what's the next thing, to ignore that I think a lot of times we go so fast that we forget the programs that we already use, and they're so skilled, they're so cool that actually it's good to as well dive in a little bit more into that. So then you bring more meaning into your projects, and people see that.
I think there is right now there is this kind of like a rush into learning the latest AI tool.
Yeah.
And then we have an AI tool every week. It's like, oh my god, we just learned this. We just learned Comfy UI, but there is a tool that already does what Comfy UI does, and probably. And I guess like one of the secret sauces here is to find your voice. And I this is one of my biggest takeaways from this call. And this is something that sometimes we take for granted, or sometimes we say, like, oh yeah, it's very obviously, but it's not that obvious. It could take you months, years to discover. But in order to do that, you have to experiment all the time, and you have to find it, right? So I have a question here. Do you prioritize art being innovative and new more than just having a strong aesthetic? For example, their technique is not new, but their style is.
I don't think that's I don't think that's word like prioritizing. I think it's depending on the occasion that is occurring. So depending on what we are looking at, that's where we're going to prioritize the aesthetic or the technique. So it will be always kind of different eyes. I feel like we've never said this, and I feel like I'm talking about eyes all the time. But yeah, I'll look as a curator, or even as like artists ourselves. Yeah, depending on the demand that we are facing, that's when we're gonna look into specific aspects.
Yeah, sorry.
So it does. Both ways.
Yeah, for sure. Because you need the technique. So the technique is gonna attract other type of public, but then the aesthetic as well is how does this look? It cannot just be not well presented. Like a technique is amazing, but also it's like how do you visually work with that technique? And then the opposite as well. I mean, the aesthetic can be very good, but then it can be a bit boring if maybe it's just flat. But as well, it depends how it is presented, and then it needs the technique behind and something innovative in order to put that visual into another level that we haven't really been seeing much.
And what I find really interesting about your, I'm gonna say like your mission as a studio is to, try to translate this into clients, because that's the most difficult part from this world. How can I translate this into a client world? Like how can I, and also how can I find the right fit for this, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's where our work as curators with Justine comes in, where we are really in this intersection between hearing what the client needs or wants, and us as well presenting new things to them. and then go and find the talents that actually would match well with this.
Yeah, that's great. So what's next for the studio, like and where people can learn more about your work, and I know you're very friendly, and as you mentioned, if feel free, for everyone who's watching this, to send your stuff to them, if they wanted to have their opinion, like they're super friendly and super amazing people, I have to say, like we're not briefly, but it's been an incredible connection we did before, and let us know, like what's next for the studio, and where can people learn more about your work.
So what's next? Who does start first? Well, first of all, thank you so much for your words. Josué, it's so sweet of you. You're amazing too, and this is super cool. You're doing all this. I think for definitely the social media, so Instagram for sure. That's the place where we want to get people inspired. So we're always going to share new projects of new artists we're finding out there. And then as well, Twitter, LinkedIn more. That's where so in terms of the industry of brands, I'd say LinkedIn is very much targeted to companies, etc. And then what's next for us? Currently we're working on thinking of a new exhibition that we want to do in Paris, mainly for now, and potentially in Athens. Those are a big dreams that we want to do over there. It's definitely a work in progress, but continue bringing the digital into the physical world, and at the same time pushing it more performative as well, or mixing more, not just a screen, but really to have people connecting with. That's what I would say is actually one of the most exciting.
Yeah, I think that's during an event. I think we actually, but it's much. We really want to expand and kind of do a festival that really is focused on digital art, whether it's in different kind of location. And keep on pushing for the digital art community. Make sure that brands as well are more aware of kind of how they can work around this. And keep doing some really cool and fun installation and have crazy ideas.
Yeah, be free with that. And we're signing two new artists, so that's actually what's gonna come soon as well. We're working on that.
What I love about you guys is that you always have a lot of open calls for artists, and that's something to look for it. If you guys are tuning in right now and you have an amazing work and you don't have a place to showcase it, please look at Braw Haus, because they do have a space, and they do have really incredible spots. You guys been working with the Sphere, we're working with in Times Square. There's a lot of big collaborations there.
Yeah, and actually on that, so we have an open call with Justine, which is a screen in Times Square, and it's the open call deadline is it's in 1 week, so you have 1 week to respond to the deadline. Everything is underneath our website, underneath more I think, and then
on news.
Open call.
No, wait, let me see, where is it? It's actually on on Discover.
And then open calls, and we just finished an open call as well in Belgium.
Yeah, here on the Discover News open calls.
Discover News open calls, and there you can find an open call for presenting our work in Times Square, or where is it?
This one
in New York.
Incredible. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. It's been fun. It's been amazing, and you guys are great. And I guess I also wanted to thank you guys for being here today. There's one more question before I go from Joe. I was about to go, but there's one more here. Every project is different, but what's your favorite go-to techniques?
For go-to techniques, I think when this is very when there's a lot of 3D scanning involved, and then when you bring when you actually record the physical and then bring into the digital. So I would say 3D scanning on my side.
Yeah, me, I'd say a bit more robotic.
Yes, ergonomic robotic. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Romantic.
And do you post those calls on Instagram as well? I assume, right?
Yeah. On Instagram, you have all the when they come out. Like we'll post, and then we'll post
Yeah.
a few more times as well. So it's not like you need to check on our website every day to see update, but on Instagram, you'll definitely have the info on the post as well. There's the info with the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
go ahead.
we have an Instagram group where we put all the stuff, but I'm not sure how we. I think it's a link that we can send the link, and then people can like go subscribe into that link, and then basically you can be part of it.
Nice, incredible. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for everyone who tuned in here today to know more about the art representation industry and how this work and how can I expand my art into some other fields. Anything else, guys, before we leave?
No,
Yeah.
thank you so much for having us, guys. Keep on producing crazy stuff, and yeah, the world is changing, and it's okay. But yeah, the vision.
Keep doing more stuff. Don't stop.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yes.
All
Cool.
right,
Thank you so much for your
guys.
time.
So much. Have a lovely day,
Have a
guys.
lovely day. Thank you so much. Bye.